Aruma Suzuki, a 14-year-old Japanese boy incapable of refusing polite requests, works hard to support his scumbag parents. He is suddenly kidnapped to the netherworld by the demon Sullivan after Aruma's parents sold his soul. Sullivan wishes to adopt Aruma as his beloved grandson, since his friends Levi and Belial always boast about their grandsons, and he is jealous. Aruma agrees and is enrolled in demon school, where he must keep his human identity secret or risk being eaten by his classmates. Aruma attends the opening ceremony and learns. Sullivan is the school's director. First-year representative Asmodeus Alice tries to give his speech, but Sullivan makes Aruma do it instead. Aruma reads a speech provided by Sullivan, terrifying and impressing the students, as the speech was actually a dangerous spell to prevent Aruma from failing or embarrassing himself. Asmodeus challenges Aruma to a duel for insulting him, but Aruma, having been raised by scumbag parents who constantly put him in dangerous situations, has developed an almost superhuman ability to dodge out of the way. The other students assume Aruma refuses to fight back because he considers Asmodee is weak. When a girl in the audience is almost hurt, Aruma saves her, but the effects of Sullivan's spell prevents him from falling forwards, and he accidentally knocks Asmodeus unconscious by throwing him backwards in a German suplex. The story spreads throughout the school, making Aruma famous. Aruma is shocked when Asmodeus happily declares himself Aruma's servant. Sullivan is delighted that Aruma seems to have a bright future in the netherworld. During breakfast with Sullivan, Aruma demonstrates his ability to consume truly shocking amounts of food. He tries to refuse to attend demon school, but decides to go when Sullivan reveals he has brought even more thoughtful gifts for him. Asmodeus informs Aruma that they must summon their magical familiars, and the strength of the familiar will determine their demonic rank and which class they are placed in. Their advisor Nabarus Kalego immediately dislikes Aruma for being Sullivan's grandson. To summon a familiar, the students perform a ceremony using their blood on summoning parchments marked with Nabarus's demonic seal to prevent cheating. Asmodeus summons a fire-breathing gorgon snake. Aruma tries a summoning, but as he has no demonic power in his blood, the familiar summoning accidentally becomes a demon summoning using the power of Nabarai's demonic seal, causing Nabarais to be summoned as a room as familiar in the embarrassing form of a small cute fluffy owl with bat wings and horns. Despite it being an accident, the other students assume Aruma must have been more powerful than Nibiria's to be able to bind him as a familiar, thus increasing Aruma's fame even more. Sullivan happily informs them familiar summoning contracts are unbreakable and last an entire year. Nibirius becomes bedridden from shock and Aruma's rank is left undetermined. Aruma meets a hyperactive student named Valet Clara, whom Asmodeus warns Aruma not to speak to. Asmodeus explains Clara is a weirdo who people try to avoid. Clara becomes attached to Aruma, who is compelled to play with her after she says, "Please." Clara reveals she has magical pockets which can copy any object she sees. Aruma learns other students have been manipulating Clara into creating free food for them. Clara sadly reveals she has gotten used to having to bribe people to be her friends. When she tries to bribe Aruma, he refuses, upsetting her until Aruma reveals he wants to be her friend without bribes. This makes Clara so happy that when the other students try manipulating her again, she throws a drinks machine at them before using Asmodeus as a target for her paint dodgeball. Aruma is unsure if Asmodeus and Clara are his friends since he never had friends before. Aruma learns that a student rank controls what food they can order. Clara gets in trouble with the snack stall owner, who considers her replicating pockets a form of shoplifting. Nibirius arrives to settle the matter, only for Clara to trick Aruma into summoning Nibiris, turning him back into an owl. Aruma, Clara, and Asmodeus flee while the stall owner traps Nibirius and demands payment for the shoplifted items. Aruma asks Asmodeus and Clara if they are friends, but is surprised to learn demons have no concept of friends, but they agree to be friends anyway. Sullivan holds a faculty meeting where it is decided Aruma, Clara, and Asmodeus will all be placed in the misfit class for problem children. Sullivan reveals to Aruma he put him in a class of troublemakers to help him not stand out along with Asmodeus and Clara, so he wouldn't be alone. Aruma immediately runs afoul of booby traps set by his new classmates who wagered on Whether he would survive, Aruma meets Sabnak Sabro, a tall muscular delinquent who plans on becoming the next demon king. Aruma learns that there are 10 demonic ranks, with Yod or 10th rank being strongest, and the demon king is always chosen from among the Yod. Sabnak admits he was placed in the misfit class for trying to defeat a teacher. Nibiris arrives and sets them a task to determine their ranks, a race through a dangerous valley, though Nibiris warns them to avoid the guardian beast that is in a particularly foul mood. Most students opt to fly except for Aruma, who has no demon wings and simply falls off the cliff when pushed by an impatient Nibirius. Zapnok flies straight for the guardian, hoping to defeat it and get a high rank. Aruma is carried off by demonic crows that accidentally drop him in the guardian's nest with its baby, who is injured. Aruma tries to help the baby and discovers his human blood can heal demons' injuries instantly. The grateful baby decides to fly Aruma to the flag as a thank you. Elsewhere, Sabnak admits he made a mistake by trying to defeat the guardian as it easily overpowers him. Zabnok reveals he wants to become demon king to prove himself better than his pacifist older brother. Aruma suddenly lands in front of him, pacifying the guardian by showing its child is healed. Sabnok assumes Aruma is somehow powerful enough not to be afraid of the guardian. At the finish line, Asmodeus places first and Clara riding on Asmodeus's shoulders come second. Aruma and Sabnak end up last, despite riding on the guardian's back. Nibirius explains a rank owl will provide everyone with ranked badges. Sabnak declares Aruma his rival. Asmodeus earns delete 4th rank, Clara earns Gimel 3rd rank, and Sabnak earns Bet 2nd rank. Aruma, instead of a badge, receives a gold ring. A startled Sabnak recalls a prophecy that the next demon king will make other demons his servants heal injuries with his blood have been a foreigner and wear Solomon's ring. Aruma freaks out when a black flame demon appears from the ring and starts draining power from his classmates. Nibiru senses the ring threatening him and moves to sever Aruma's entire arm, but is stopped by Sullivan, who scolds him. Sullivan explains the ring is actually the gluttonous feeder ring that eats magic power, then pacifies it by feeding it some of his power. Aruma's rank is undetermined and by default receives the lowest rank, Aleph. Meanwhile, his taming of the guardian and his ring attacking his classmates increases his fame yet again. Aruma's fame draws the attention of the student council. In botany class, the students learn to use magic to grow demonic plants. Sabnak produces a feral flower that eats everything it sees, Asmodeus an elegant flower with flaming petals, and Clara a mutated flower beyond rational description, having no magic. Aruma says the spell as a joke while thinking of his home in Japan. Sullivan's magic suddenly bursts from his ring as Sullivan calls Aruma to explain that the ring lets Aruma use magic, but Sullivan has forgotten to set a limit on its output. Aruma's overpowered seed explodes into a giant cherry blossom tree, destroying the greenhouse. Student Council President Azazel Amiri recognizes the tree as a human plant and suspects Aruma is a human. Amiri privately reveals most demons believe humans do not exist, but her family secretly owns a library of sacred relics, Japanese manga, and is obsessed with the First Love Memory series, but as she cannot read Japanese, has mistakenly concluded it is a manual of human love. Spells. Aruma tries to clean up the falling cherry blossoms, despite Clara making more mess as he leaves. Aruma turns a corner and accidentally knocks Amiri over. Amiri, recognizing the similarity to a romance scene from First Love Memories, believes Aruma is trying to make her fall in love with him using human magic and concludes he must be human. Aruma assumes Amiri is angry while Amiri assumes she is in a magical love duel. Amiri realizes he can read Japanese and rather than reveal he is human drags him to her office and asks him to read the story out loud for her. After Aruma finishes and embarrassed, Amiri puts her number on his phone so she can ask him to read for her again. Aruma can't decide if he prefers his old life or his new life. Opera informs him it may be possible to visit the human world if he becomes a high-ranking demon. Aruma is summoned by Amiri, making Asmodeus and Clara suspicious. Amiri decides, based on First Love Memories, that spending time with Aruma counts as a date. Asmodeus and Clara buy detection warding glasses to hide while following Aruma. Asmodeus assumes Aruma is hatching a plan to take over the student council, while Clara assumes they are excluding her from a new game after learning about ambition. From first love memories and listening to Amiri's plans for the future, Aruma realizes his pushover personality had prevented him from having any ambition of his own. Asmodeus tries to stop Clara from ruining Aruma's plans of taking over the school. Aruma struggles to come up with a dream, so Amir urges him to raise his rank as a temporary goal. Clara bakes into the room to take Aruma back, assuming Amiri was trying to steal him. As time passes and Aruma spends more time with Amiri, Clara becomes increasingly jealous, so Sabnok suggests she lure Aruma with her feminine wiles. As Clara has no feminine wiles, she joins seduction class to learn sexiness, but the succubus teacher Rame determined she only has two sexiness, making her impossibly innocent. Clara tries to use seduction methods on Aruma, but he assumes she is playing games. Clara becomes depressed, but returns to normal after her mother kisses her forehead. The next day, Clara tries to use a kiss attack, but Aruma avoids it with his superhuman dodging skill, while Clara ends up receiving detention from Nibiris. Clara admits she has zero sex appeal and resigns herself to losing Aruma until Aruma innocently reveals he does think of her as a girl. Restoring her confidence enough, she declares she will make Aruma fall for her. Aruma feels an unusual thump in his heart as she pulls him along, holding his hand. Rain happily observes that Clara's sexiness has been risen to 10%. Aruma decides to get serious about raising his rank from a left first to bet second. Aruma asks Asmodeus to help him climb the ranks, and Asmodeus overreacts and begins planning to make Aruma eyed 10th rank and rule the school, though Aruma assures him he would be content with making it to bed. Asmodeus agrees, assuming Aruma has a complicated reason for becoming bet, and explains the best way is to score well on an upcoming rank promotion exam based on execution cannonball, a dangerous competition similar to human dodgeball. Aruma assumes he will do well with his ability to avoid danger until he realizes the other students are allowed to use their demonic powers. He asks Sullivan for training and learns he can use the ring to use magic for the exam, but Aruma decides he wants to compete with his own power and not magic borrowed from Sullivan. Sullivan strengthens Aruma's hands to give him a fair chance, then leaves the physical training to Opera. Aruma struggles to catch the ball as his instinct is still to dodge, but he refuses to give up and even gets help from Asmodeus and Clara. After a week, he still can't catch the ball, but Opera assures Sullivan Aruma is definitely having fun. Eventually Aruma manages to catch the ball, and Opera informs Sullivan Aruma is ready to take the exam. The day of the exam arrives. Nibiris explains their ranks will be increased based on the opponents they defeat, but only if they are the winning team. Asmodeus is assigned to a different team from Aruma, but decides to help him. The exam is instant chaos as Aruma's classmates use their powers, while Clara floods the court with multiple balls. Aruma manages to catch the real ball only to realize he never learned how to throw it. Sabnok, irritated that Asmodeus appears to be daydreaming, tries to strike him, but Asmodeus strikes Sabnog out instead. Asmodeus continues to strike players out without thinking until only he and Aruma remain. Asmodeus is put in a tight spot. If he lets Aruma win, he could be helping Aruma gain a rank, but also undermine all his hard work. After a moment of hesitation, he decides to throw with his whole power. Amiri arrives to watch the exam for herself. Aruma overcomes his fear and catches the powerful throw, but he cannot stop it, and instead he spins in a circle to redirect the ball's momentum back at Asmodeus, who is struck by his own power. Nibiris, impressed by Aruma's tactic, promotes his rank to bet second. Amiri congratulates Aruma on finally gaining ambition. Aruma thanks Oprah for all his training, upsetting an emotional Sullivan who realizes he did very little to help Aruma at all. A new teacher, Boss Robin, begins teaching the misfit class about the importance of bonding with once familiar. Asmodeus and Sabnok summon their Gorgon snake and Kelby horse, and Clara summons her Fawful, a rare familiar whose actions are mysterious. Aruma tries to refuse until Boss says, please, so Aruma summons a furious Nibiris. Boss reminds Aruma that he needs to control his familiar according to the rules written by Nibiris. Nibiris decides to make Aruma the best summoner in class, even though it involves playing embarrassing games. To promote trust, Aruma sincerely apologizes, so Nibiris asks why Aruma didn't summon him to fight the Valley Guardian. Aruma explains it was so neither Nibiris nor the Guardian would get hurt. Asmodeus and Sob not get into a fight, so Nibiris defeats their familiars, and angrily informs the students that familiars are powerful violent monsters only kept in check by their contracts. The best summoners should train their familiars, while also fearing them as Aruma does. Nibiris also forces Balls to rethink his teaching style. Aruma learns about the battlers, the group of students, with similar interests, who form groups, to help each other raise their ranks like school clubs. Aruma decides to join one of the battlers to find a new goal and possibly raise his rank again. Asmodeus tries to prepare Aruma as the senior battlers begin their rookie hunt, an intensely terrifying stampede by older students to recruit first-year students into their groups. As the hunt begins, most seniors try to recruit Asmodeus. The hunt is so brutal the first years are put in actual physical danger. Amiri and the student council monitor most of the mayhem, while Aruma realizes that Amiri is actually the student council president. Amiri surprises everybody by inviting Aruma to join the councils. Battler Nibirius announces a 3-day trial period where students can try numerous battlers before deciding which to join permanently. Clara shows repeated interest in Reem's succubus Battler. Aruma struggles to decide as his fame means he's invited to join every battler. His ring suddenly activates and drags him through the air, dropping him on Ami Kurito, the recruiter for the magical apparatus battler, whose necklace is made from the same metal as the ring. Aruma visits several battlers, most of which are dangerous in some way, and unsuitable. Sullivan alters Aruma's ring so we can choose the level of magic he wants to use, Devil Demon or Ifrit, and a level for emergencies only, Pandarella. After testing the ring at the execution cannonball battler, Amiri texts Aruma reminding him to visit the council battler before the trial period is over. Aruma is caught up in an explosion caused by one of Karuto's apparatuses. The council members are confused over Amiri's sudden enthusiasm for battle or recruitment. Aruma texts her that he won't be able to visit the council after Karuto's explosion, but Amiri believes. Finding out she is the council president has scared him away. Kurito explains that he researches and creates magic items, but his magic power is so weak he cannot use the items he creates. His goal is to allow weaker demons to stand up to higher level demons that mistreat them. Aruma decides to join his battler and is followed by Clara and Asmodeus. Aruma does later visit the student council, to Amiri's delight, at least until Aruma explains that he joined another battler with the trial period over. The school prepares for their battle or party for battlers to welcome their new recruits and meet their parents. Sullivan must attend the 13th dinner, a meeting for the Netherworld's 13 greatest heroes, all of whom are concerned that Netherworld is falling into chaos without a demon king and believe it is time to raise either Sullivan Levi or Belial to the throne. Levi and Belial agree Sullivan should take the throne, but Sullivan refuses, as he would have less time to spend with Aruma. Henry, one of the 13 and Amiri's father, is forced to arrest Sullivan. After finding evidence Sullivan illegally visited the human world, Sullivan is questioned by Demon Border Control. Most of the first years panic at the thought of their parents visiting the school. Sullivan appoints Nibiris as temporary school director, while the rest of the staff wonders what Sullivan did to get arrested. Kurito reveals that all battlers give presentations, competing for prizes, maybe even a rise and rank. But the magical apparatus battler has such a small budget they normally stand no chance until Aruma is inspired to create fireworks as the testing requires darkness. Kirio decides they must stay at school overnight while trying to create gunpowder. Kirio reveals he has an ability to create magical barriers, the only reason he survives so many explosions. Aruma asks Amiri to loan him one of her manga so Kirio can see what a firework should look like, but she refuses, at least until she realizes she would get to see real fireworks. After they successfully create fireworks, they exhaust themselves with a pillow fight, utilizing Aruma's dodge ability and Kirio's barriers. Kirio is later contracted by a powerful demon named Ball that can use lightning magic, revealing he's the reason Sullivan has been arrested, and he has been plotting with Kirio to create a machine to destroy the school. It is announced the battler party will last 3 days, and the first place prize will be an increase in rank for the battler members and an increase in rank for the battler president. Kirio continues working on his machine, which flashbacks show he was only able to complete due to Aruma's help and that his powerful demon friend plans to use his machine to kill as many students as possible. As Kiryu works in his hidden workshop, he is suddenly interrupted by Iruma, who has been dragged through the air by his ring searching for Kiryu's necklace. Kiryu decides to reveal to Iruma that the secret workshop is hidden on the school roof behind one-way soundproof glass, and that his plan to help the weak stand up to the strong includes the school bell, which will be rung to begin the party. Still not understanding Kiryu's meaning, Iruma urges him to try to win first prize with their fireworks to prove they don't need to be strong to win. Kiryu appears happy, and he and Iruma are so alike with the preparations over the battler party can finally begin to Kiryu's delight. The party eve begins a festival the night before the main competition start. As fireworks require darkness, Iruma and the others decide to scout their competition. Iruma knocks the yakisoba battler out of the competition by devouring their famous ogre sized serving, leaving them with no ingredients. Iruma is warned by his classmates that his main competitors are the new magic battler who will attempt to conjure water from a stone, the game battler with their virtual sorcery hat to allow people to experience virtual reality adventures, as well as the underwater circus and the magic beast battles. As Monies reveals, they will set off their main firework as the school bell rings to signal the start of the competition. Clara accidentally lights the fuse, but when it misfires they realize their biggest firework is missing. Kiryu takes the stolen firework to his workshop. Amiri's father possesses evidence of Sullivan kidnapping Iruma given to him by Ball, the powerful demon, helping Kiryu. As the sun sets, Kiryu destroys his necklace, covering the entire school with multiple barriers, preventing people from being able to move around. Iruma finds himself separated from Asmodeus by Clara and a barrier, while Kiryu begins his plan. Sullivan senses the barriers appearing. Iruma realizes the barriers are Kiryu's. Niberius finds the barriers are self-repairing, meaning they could have only been cast by a Tet 9th rank and can likely only be fully destroyed by Oid 10th rank, like Sullivan, meaning his arrest was arranged beforehand. Nibiris manages to move by breaking barriers and moving through before they can repair, and has another teacher announce to the students that the barriers are a surprise maze event by the new magic and game battlers. Nibiris begins researching all demons with barrier creation abilities. When most of the students make it to the courtyard easily, Nibiris worries they were manipulated into going to the courtyard. Kiryu loads the firework into a school destroyer machine, but suddenly realizes Iruma is heading to the lab, somehow finding his way towards Kiryu. Even though Kiryu destroyed his necklace, a flashback reveals Asmodi is deduced. Kiryu must have been planning his attack for years, and now is using a map of the school and one of Kirito's magical apparatus, copied by Clara, to guide Iruma through the barriers. Nibiris identifies Kiryu as the likely suspect and orders the teachers to capture him. Part of the school collapses and Amiri saves a student from being killed. Iruma finally reaches the lab. Iruma reaches the workshop where Kiryu reveals his plans to use the firework to destroy the school. Kiryu reveals the Ami family are famous for their barriers and magical strength, but when he was born with weak magic he was sent to the Garden of Delinquents for problem children. Despite being bullied, he made a friend, but when bully stole her earring and threw it in a river, Kiryu tried to catch it with a barrier, but failed, devastating her. That was when Kiryu realized he perversely enjoyed watching people's despair. Ball, who believed demons are too nice compared to their society's evil past, helped Kiryu plan to destroy Babylos as a symbol of their weakened society, while Kiryu plans on enjoying Iruma's despair when Clara and Asmodeus die. However, when Iruma seems unconcerned and calmly removes the firework, Kiryu is confused. Iruma explains that thanks to his childhood he almost never feels despair anymore. Kiryu realizes that he and Iruma are not alike at all. Iruma unlocks his ring's effort mode to throw the firework into the sky, but it hits with the barrier. With the explosion seconds away, Iruma breaks a promise he made to Sullivan and unlocks the ring's panda ruler mode, obliterating the barrier and exploding the firework in the sky, where it delights all the watching students. With Iruma passed out, Kiryu saves him from falling off the roof, and despite raging that his plan is ruined, he admits defeat and that Iruma is a better demon than he is. It is revealed that as Iruma was talking with Kirio. Boss Robin used archery magic to shoot a warning note to Sullivan. Sullivan then broke out of prison and saw Aruma use Pandarola to destroy the barrier, forcing Sullivan to save the school from falling debris. The teachers apprehended Kirio, though he does remind Aruma to beware of other demons wanting to have an evil society. He's taken down by demon border control to be interrogated. Sullivan shows Aruma that his firework was immensely powerful with the students, though he is scolded by Amiri, who wanted to watch the firework together. Aruma shares credit for the firework with Asmodeus, Clara, and Cudio as the battler party starts. The students vote for their favorite battlers just as their parents turn up for the party. Aruma prepares the remaining fireworks before meeting 4 of Clara's 5 siblings and her mother, who are all as eccentric as she is. Asmodeus is caught by his embarrassing mother Amaryllis, a demon lord of seduction, who showers Asmodeus with love and affection. Sullivan and Opera arrive to attend the festival with Aruma, causing general chaos as they do. As the sun sets, they set off fireworks and Aruma declares his new family to be his pride and joy before insisting on posing for a photograph with Sullivan and Opera. With the voting over the winner of the Battler party is decided, the closing spectacular begins with the handing out of prizes. The succubus battler receives an upgraded club room, the new magic battler a year's supply of black holy water, while the grand prize of rank increase is given to the broadcast battler. Nibirius announces that for unspecified reasons an extra award has been created, the prize for which is one member of the battler will go up by 1 rank. The winners are announced to be the magical apparatus battler, despite being disqualified due to Kirio's schemes with Aruma getting the rank increase to Gimel 3rd rank. Aruma worries that he has spent too much time standing out instead of hiding. Amiri's father, Henry, takes an interest in Aruma. Amiri summons Aruma to read manga, but he rushes out after seeing her father. Henry confronts Aruma, not knowing why Sullivan is so attached to him. Henry tells Aruma he met a human once before and legally returned them to the human world. He begins to ask if Aruma wants to go home, but is interrupted by Amiri, who recounts all of Aruma's recent achievements and claim he's an outstanding demon. Suspicious Henry asks how Amiri knows Aruma, and she awkwardly blurts out that they spend time alone talking about love, shocking Henry into semi-consciousness. Asmodeus and Clara tell Aruma they know something happened with Kirio, but they're happy to wait for Ironman to tell them. Aruma decides he doesn't want to return to the human world and must work harder at hiding his human identity. Aruma's rank increase gets more newspaper coverage than Kuromu. A dem doll. Asmodeus explains them dolls are vital as teenage demons go through an evil cycle of destructive behavior, so they're distracted by popular entertainment, which converts their impulses into healthy excitement. Kuromu is revealed to be Cross L. Carolee, a quiet girl from the misfit class who was embarrassed by her cute idol persona, despite her siblings being better academically. Crocell found other demons treated her kindly because she was so cute, so she became Kuromu to beat her siblings and earn a higher rank than her mother. However, since Aruma arrived, he has been in the newspapers more often than her, making her jealous. At the next concert, she furiously realizes Aruma is in the audience, having received tickets from the broadcast battler. Coincidentally, Aruma wins a ticket to meet Kuromu in person. A furious Kuroso suggests to keep her identity a secret. However, Aruma already knew who she was due to her distinctive hands, as her glasses contain identity detection warding. Kuroso decides Aruma must be a super fan to notice such small details, but is surprised when Aruma admits he's jealous of how well she manages to stay hidden, as he's tired of standing out. By accident realizing that Aruma is more popular than her without trying only makes Crossell more upset, and she passes out with a fever from overusing her ice magic. Grossell's manager, Mal, decides to cancel the show, as cooling Crossell's body back to normal requires a family member, none of whom will arrive in time. Amiri attends the concert with a ticket from her father, who's working security. Crossell has a nightmare about disappointing her family, then wakes up after she would have been on stage, only to realize Aruma saved the show by dressing as a girl and performing an opening act with Clara and Asmodeus dressed like dem dolls in order to let Crossell recover. Amiri suspects the Demdale on stage, looks like Abruma, but convinces herself it couldn't be. Crossell realizes Aruma, who hates standing out, was willing to go on stage to save her career and decides he isn't so bad. She thanks Aruma for his help, but then forces him to stay on stage, performing for the entire concert. Afterwards, Mal tells Crossell her entire family actually came to help while she was asleep, making her incredibly happy. Mal also secretly reveals to Aruma Crossell's family love her and have watched every concert on TV, they just cannot come in person because they also pass out when overexcited. Back at school, Crossell warns Aruma if he reveals her identity, he will regret it. She also asks if they can still be friends, despite hating all the attention the female Aruma got in the newspapers. Aruma predicts he will have a normal day after breakfast with Sullivan. He watches as Modi Sinclair race to school, has homeroom with Nibiris, and attends normal lessons. After school, he reads Amiri Moore manga, which contains lines about keeping secrets. Amiri remembers the female Dem doll who looked like Aruma and nervously asks if he has anything bothering him, and he says he doesn't. Then when handing him a snack, she touches his hand and her heart beats wildly. Aruma goes home, but suddenly realizes he now fits into demon society and worries it no longer bothers him. Aruma becomes unusually withdrawn as he considers the offer Henry made to erase his memory and send him home. As Monius and Clara decide food will cheer them up and sneak into the school kitchen. However, they end up arguing and decide to both make meals and see which one Aruma prefers. Clara misunderstands her mother's claim love is the most important ingredient and lovingly crafts a bizarre meal, whereas Asmodeus decides on an elegant fish dish, despite having ichthyophobia, which is the fear of fish. In the morning, Aruma finds both dishes work together to become even tastier. Asmodeus and Clara are forced to agree after both trying the dishes and declare to draw after becoming friends again, though a few minutes later, they are arguing again. Aruma finally decides he wants to stay in the netherworld after all. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.